local government. Okay. So why are we sort of talking about local government changes? What's the big issue? Local government's been around in various forms since since King Alfred's time. Why are we thinking about it yet again? I think the bottom line is finances. So through the government's austerity programme in particular over the last few years, local councils have had their central budget cut very, very significantly, as you can see from the slides there. So over the last 5 years, we've taken out £142 million out of our services. Now, that just made me think, God, what were we doing 10 years ago when we had £142 million more than we have now? The savings have been very enormous, being taken out, and also there's still more to come. So the government's agenda is very much around, okay, the government still needs to become more efficient, they still need to have more savings, and at the same time, our budget pressures, particularly in adult social care and child protection, are going through the roof. So actually, around 75% of our budget in Bournemouth, 75% of the budget is on adult social care and child protection, leaving 25% for the things that people think councils do, like get the bins and do the parks and the highways and the car parks and the planning. So actually, it's very much around those services which are obviously very, very important and need protecting and saving. So there's still a £30 million gap across Dorset. So one of the obvious things is, okay, there's 9 councils in Dorset. It's not that big a place. Can we look at reshaping the councils? So what changes being considered? I've got the audio image to try and break it up a little bit. Right, so I think this is the key slide really. What we're consulting on are these sort of 3 main options. Well, option 1 is no change, retaining all 9 councils. I think everyone's, our view from the councils is that's just not sustainable, so we need to look at some other options. Sorry. Why not? Why is it not sustainable? Because we've taken out 142 million. We've got to find another 30 million. Have you had a council tax rise? Sorry? You've not had a council tax rise? We have had a council tax rise. Yes. Yeah, we're the first one in a long time here, I've heard. And yeah. Compared to Christchurch, they've had a lot more council. They've had a higher rise than you guys.
Yeah. But that was a government initiative to stop rate rises because most people don't want their council tax to rise. And I think you have to congratulate this council for keeping it at that level.
And cut all services instead.
Sorry, can we just get on?
Yeah, I'm very happy to have all the
services rather than pay more money.
We'll have all the questions. I'm really happy to back them up. I'll get through the presentation. We can get on to the questions. That's great. Thank you. So retaining all 9 councils, then you've got these 3 options, which, if I start from the bottom a bit, counterintuitively, it's a bit like going to McDonald's or something, small, medium or large. So small is essentially merging Poole and Bournemouth, those 2 unitary councils, and then the rest of Dorset creates another sort of rural unitary. You've then got the next medium, which is Bournemouth, Poole and Christchurch, which is sort of is contiguous in terms of it's the urban area. If you look at it on a map, it's all one area, and then the rest in the rest of Dorset. And then you've got like sort of the large conurbation, the large almost city then of Bournemouth, Poole, Christchurch, and East Dorset. And the East Dorset bit includes places like Ferndown and going out to the north, of Bournemouth. It also includes a really quite rural area going right up to Sixpenny, Handley, and rural places right at the top. So it's actually quite a large geographic area. And actually, think about this presentation, you could redo the map, really, couldn't it? But anyway, that's something to learn. So those are the 3 main those are the 3 main options. Each of them has got their pros and cons, and I'll talk about those in a minute, really. Next one. Right. What are the benefits? I'll have something. I'll have she's on, please. Next one. In terms of the finances side of things, the point that was made earlier on, part of it is to saving cash to try and protect those frontline services, reducing those costs. There will be some one-off costs for reorganising it, but we think we'll be able to make those savings, get those back in a year. I think something I'm really quite interested in is actually allowing particularly Poole and Bournemouth in this sort of conurbation area, allowing it to punch its weight. At the moment, because we're split into quite small authorities, when you compare us to places like Bristol, which are actually about similar size when you add up the numbers of people, because they've got bigger populations, bigger authorities. They're able to punch their weight with government, attract more government funding than we've been able to. So I think that's really important. We can actually play our part on the national stage a bit more. Focus on people and places, and again, try and find looking at the conurbation, which is a bit I know well. Actually, it is one place, and it's treated as one place by people who live here. People move across and perhaps travel in one part, live in one part, and work in another, move around for education and so on. And it's actually just have a much more joined up approach to planning and everything else in that area. And the other thing is really trying to keep that accountability. So at the moment, particularly if you go into the rural Dorset, we've got a Dorset County Council that's responsible for some things, and you've got local district councils responsible for others. Sometimes it's quite difficult to pin down who's actually in charge of something, and you get lots of issues around where, I don't know, one authority is responsible for the railings, another is responsible for the road, and it all just gets very complicated. So if we do start moving with these options, whatever option we have, what's going to make the difference? What's going to be the change? Well, one, there's going to be the democracy bit. So there will be fewer councillors. So at the moment we've got over 330 councillors across Dorset, and if we had 2 councils, we'd have significantly less. So I think depending on which model you go for, but in Bournemouth or Christchurch, this sort of area, you probably get down to about 70 councillors, 50, 60, 70 councillors depending on the different models. Fewer staff, obviously, if we've got to save sort of £30 million or so plus going into the future, we want to be much more efficient, and that would obviously mean fewer staff. I think the key people that are sort of at risk there are sort of the top of the organisation. Instead of having 6 chief execs, and you've got 2. Instead of having 9 people like me, you've got 2. Things like that. And then obviously you can really rationalise your estate. You don't need to have quite so many offices and depots and all that sort of stuff. And you can be more rational with your buildings. So there's loads to do. I think we can, with a reshaped councils, they'll actually hopefully be much more efficient and fit for the 21st century rather than building on a sort of Victorian legacy of how we do everything. We take the opportunity to try and sort of bring that in the 21st century and get that more digital approach. I'm looking forward to your questions in a minute. Right, next. So what do we mean for council tax? Okay, so at the moment the council tax rises are sort of capped at 3.99%. That's been historic 1.99% for the council tax. Then they've had an additional government put an extra 2% on, which is ring-fenced for adult social care. So now, broadly speaking, most councils are up about 3.99%. That's just the average. So the idea then, if you trying to restrict those that council tax to go too high, at the moment people are paying slightly different rates in Poole, in Bournemouth, in Christchurch, East Dorset, and all over the place. And what you aim to do over 20 years is have a sort of harmonisation. So different people pay different rates, and over 20 years you get to the point where they're all paying exactly the same. But you don't do it in any big jumps. You do it over time, so that people will start being equal. 20 times near rising. So most residents across Dorset have an increase at a lower rate. Instead of apart from increase at a lower rate compared to what they do now. The last couple of slides. So basically, this is part of what I'm trying to do here is to encourage people to get involved. I few little props here. There's a load of these have gone out. We've got about 20,000 of these been sent out to residents. If you want one of these, you can have one, and you can pick them up from libraries and pick them up all over the place. So these are things if you want to put pen to paper. Equally, if you're feeling a bit more digital, you can just go on the website, reshaping your council's website. I'll give you the information in a minute. And again, you can fill out online questionnaires and have your say on that sort of thing as well. So that'd be really good to get responses from people, because we need to take a sounding from as many people in the population as possible to see what they think. Do you want to play on a bit? it, yeah. So, as I said, 3,000 residents, plus reshaping your council's website, 40 roadshows across, including sort of events like this, but also the ones which are perhaps more public, like outside supermarkets and that sort of thing. I'm on high streets. I think there's one at Boscombe Market coming up in a few days. So, and sort of bumping into the public and talking to them about it and telling them what's going on. Can I have the next one, please? Yeah, there's the roadshows there. Boscombe Market on the 23rd of September. And we sort of keep it going until the end of October. So we've got a few weeks left to hear from people. Next, please.
This is not a roadshow then?
No, this is not a roadshow. This is what they called a deliberate event or something. Yes, this is a sort of planned event. We're working with a company called OCR, who are one of the sort of national companies in terms of research and customer research and so on. And basically they'll be putting a report together which lists all the responses that have come back from the forums and events like this. And also we'll be writing to businesses, we're writing to parish councils, just a whole range of people, you name it, they're being contacted. All that information will come in, OCR will make some sense of that and be able to feed back to the politicians. This is what the population think and this is what the businesses think about these proposals. So that's the overall timetable is coming up, which is essentially doing this consultation in sort of October time, around December and January, then trying to work out what the outcome is. We then aim to have the leaders of the councils and the wider councils, council members make the decision and hopefully come up with a preferred option, one that they can all sort of get behind and sign up to. If we do that, we can then take that to the government with a business case explaining why we want to do it. The government can then accept that, hopefully look at it and do what they need to do in terms of legislation changes and so on. Assuming it all goes as planned on the thing there, we'd end up with the new council starting in May 2019. So that will be the first election, if you like, for the new councillors coming in May 19. It may not be like a shadow authority to help get things set up, but that would happen. So May 19 sounds like a long way away, but again, it will soon come round. There's lots to do in terms of setting up new organisations and getting them fit for purpose of the 21st century. I think that is it. So yeah, hopefully that was a quick run through. Very happy to take any questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you and we'll get back to you. So we'll start with you. We'll move around.
You say the current system is Victorian, but I thought that it all got changed once before anyway. It all got merged and it was Bournemouth, and the rest of Dorset at one point.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, that was
and then they split it again.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So it's not Victorian, is it, at the moment?
Well, when I say Victoria, there's been waves of local government reorganisation every 10 or 20 years it comes up. So this unitary, so Bournemouth were unitary, I think, in the late 90s? 97, thank you.
So it's not Victorian.
No, they're in that wave, and then there's been other. The Victorian thing I made about is we're in Victorian town halls. I'm called an officer, council officer. The way we structure our departments came out from the Victorian age in terms of looking after the gas works and the electricity works and the slum clearances and all that sort of stuff. So that's the point I'm making about Victorian, not to be taken too literally.
So
Can I move on to the next question? Then I'll come back to you. If you've got other questions, we can share around a bit.
As I understand it, we've got two choices. One is to actually keep services at the level they are. One is for the merger which you're talking about, and the other, as this lady quite rightly says, is that council tax could go up.
If you want to go above 4% to make up that 30-minute gap, you can have a referendum and you can make it 20% if you want to.
That wasn't my question. My question actually is, how much would council tax have to rise by in order to meet the shortfall, and how would this impact on people who are already getting assistance to pay their council tax, which effectively would be paid by the council anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason that I'm asking that question is to try and illustrate that raising council tax is not going to be enough.
No, I tell you what, I don't know those numbers offhand, but I do know the amount of increases we get from the council tax if we put it up, say, by 4%, it's around about 2 million, 2.5 million. So actually, to get it up to those higher levels, you've got to go quite substantially higher than that. The other thing we've got to bear in mind is actually councils don't just run on council tax. Well, the reason we've got the gap emerging is because the government grants have just gone, are going. I think now Christchurch, East Dorset, Dorset County Council will get no government grant, I think, from next year. So those government grants have just shrunk to nothing. So we've got to find other ways, can be more efficient. We can jack the council tax up, which is very unpopular with local residents, understandably, or we can start and also start charging more for our services, which is very unpopular. So if you'll go to the back, then I will come back to you.
Hi. Given that there was recently ideas to merge Bournemouth and Borough hospitals, which was turned down by the Monopolies Commission, and I know that cost millions, the consultation period and the management structure around it. Have you got figures for what this consultation is costing? Also, whilst I appreciate you might reduce the number of executives and certain staff members, you're going to have protected salaries, you're going to have redundancies. So at what point do we start saving? Because you actually, this is going to cost a lot of money to implement.
I'll start at the back and go through it. If I miss a question, remind me, because I'll try and remember 3 or 4 things there. So I think the numbers that have been crunched so far show that the actual cost of change will be around £25 million. Okay, so that's your redundancies, that's all the things you're talking about there. Your IT systems, you can imagine all the regular to-do list you have to make these organisations. Again, the numbers show that in the first year you would save over £25 million. So you get a 1-year payback from doing it. So that's why the maths that's linked.
So you're saying that there's a £25 million cost and a £25 million saving?
Correct.
So there's an operational saving of 50 million?
No, it's an operational saving of 25, but yes, it costs 25. So yes, the numbers show broadly, and we're not down to the last paper clip, but it shows broadly that it pays for itself in the first year, which is why it's so attractive. You can do it quite quickly.
I think that's something that it would be worth publicising, because that's a concern that people have.
Yeah.
Every change costs a lot.
Yeah, sure.
I know sort of at ground level people are very worried about that.
Yeah. And there's another question about the cost of the consultation. I think at the beginning there, cost of the consultation. Again, I can find out for you. The budget is in the tens of thousands rather than hundreds of thousands. I know that much. So it's trying to be done efficiently.
But it's important that people are consulted.
Exactly, and people were complaining if we didn't spend any money and didn't do it, you know. And the other thing I just want to pick you up on that, your Bournemouth and Borough hospital thing. As far as I'm aware, there's been no stop by the Mergers Commission thing. There is still, the plan is to go out and...
I'm talking about the previous one.
Oh right, okay, before my time, sorry. The one that's current is still very much alive and is planned to happen.
The previous one cost $1 million, over $1 million, and it's turned down.
I'd like to ask a question. I think they've got a lot of exciting opportunities, actually, this development. And my interest is particularly for black minority ethnic and LGBT, disability, the different minority communities. Working at such a level, I could see that they could get a lot more of a voice, more support where they're needed, maybe than having the status quo. But what I'd like to say, you probably know, Bill, I have different hats on. The Secretary of the Board. Is that needs to be co-produced with those communities from now to get a really good deal and probably make things better than they already are. So to put that over to you. Please welcome that.
Absolutely.
Take forward. One question I've just thought as well that I'd like to ask. Do you see a city status for this conurbation in here somewhere?
I don't think it's a massive driver. I think the city status is something you get for a job well done down the line, 10 years down the line or whatever. If that's what it's needed. And also, you've got the tyranny of geography around here. What is the city? Is it Bournemouth? Is it Poole? Is it Christchurch? Someone would argue that it's Christchurch, the historical, whatever. So, it's sort of like, it's on the too hot path for me, to be honest. I'd rather think about how we run the place.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I have just one technical question that I'd like to ask him. It's just with regard to the two documents produced. Obviously, HM Treasury produced a costing project, which is the 25 million that's arrived at, wasn't it? And then showed the kind of cost benefits and the movement through council tax and those things. Within that document, it said that the approach to frontline services in coming to that 25 million was limited around key frontline service areas, including public health, adult social care, and children's services, etc. But in the consultation document, I noticed that the frontline services are actually included in that, and the figures arrived at the consultation document. Is that correct? Or have
I don't really know, to be honest.
Okay.
I
appreciate that's quite a technical question.
Yeah.
I emailed it to you. It was kind of, it seemed incongruous that in the figure arrived at by the HM was then seemed to be then not what the kind of criteria is built around consultation that they were kind of opposing. And then
to be honest, I don't know. I can very much get the accounting guys to look into it and find out what the difference is. I think there's a feeling that when you crunch the numbers, you try and look at efficiencies in adult social care and all the rest of it. But I think there's sort of just a recognition that however efficient you make it, the demand is such and going to be so much more anyway that you're still going to have a very large amount of money put aside to deal with them.
And just one more question, just for I'm so with regard to that sort of top tier executive kind of pay, when that movement to kind of a larger connovation takes place, will there be a kind of reflection in salaries based on that?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it depends on. There's no fixed sort of grades for things. So I look around for jobs like anybody else. So if you look at some of the London boroughs, paid a lot more than say Bristol or Birmingham or somewhere. So I suspect in reality there might be a little bit of an increase, but it wouldn't be over the top. Because you'll be doing such big. Can I just go to the chap at the back there, and then you're waiting, and then we'll go back to Lady Green.
I know that the Secretary of State for the LGA has said that localism, the Localism Act and neighbourhood planning is not going to be affected by any of this. Area forums, sort of Part 8 of Bournemouth Borough Council's constitution. Do you know whether area forums are safe? I've got two questions, that's the first.
It's really difficult because if you sort of imagine there's a new organisation now in the future, 2019, there's a new council covering a bigger patch. I can't say what they would want to do because we're not them. But any new council would want to be connected to its population, and things like area forums work good, work well. In the rural areas, parish councils work well. So why wouldn't you keep? I think that's all I would say on that.
And my second question, Bournemouth Borough Council's just made itself the accountable body for a new round of European Social Fund.
Yeah, correct,
To address social exclusion or...
sort of business support mostly.
I think that's the second part of the goals and aims. The first part is the traditional European Social Fund goals. Will that be spent before the merger, or will Bournemouth Borough Council have to divvy that up?
The actual, I think that funding is actually for Dorset-wide. So it's Dorset-wide, so the Bournemouth are acting as the accountable body just for the whole of Dorset, if you like, on that. I think the bigger question is, can we spend the money before we leave the EU? So they'll stop sending us the cheques when we do that. We had this lady here, and then,
I agree with the reasons for change, but in terms of then choosing between the different options and the sizes, when people ask to have their say, is there information about what that looks like for each of the options and cost benefits?
Yeah, I think that's important because if you look through this stuff, which I'll leave you now look through, there's a lot more detail in terms of the population sizes, the kind of services they each offer, what the council tax base might be in each one, that sort of thing. So there's more info rather than just picking a random number.
Thank you.
Am I right in thinking of the three different size tiers? There's one that now is not even in consideration, or is it?
There was one sort of what I call a theoretical option, which is one unitary to cover the whole of Dorset, Bournemouth and Poole and Dorset. So that would be one authority that had a population of about over 800,000, covering everything from the urban area right through to Lyme Regis or whatever. And I think when we have looked at that, and actually it does save more money, it's sort of more efficient at one level. But the government have said it's just too big, and it probably will be too remote from its citizens.
I think the cap at 600,000 in there.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a sort of theoretical one only. So quick, Lady Green, and then just when you're going to go, yeah, and then Harry. I didn't realise it was going to be so popular. It's great. I'm enjoying this.
You currently have 330 councillors in, you said?
Across Dorset, yes, that's right. Yeah.
And they're going to reduce it to just 50, 60 or 70?
For the conurbation area.
For the whole lot? How many were those 70? What was the area those 70 councillors will cover then?
So if you looked at, say, that middle option, let's just keep to rather than go through more. The middle option, which is Bournemouth, Poole and Christchurch, you go down from around 150 councillors down to around 70.
So more than half it?
Yeah.
It's a democracy. Why the councils are people we go to, aren't they? So how's it going to be?
Well,
they're going to cover twice the area. They're going to get paid. They're cutting the amount of councillors by half.
Yeah.
So they have to do twice the work then. They're laying about at the moment doing nothing, and then you're getting them to work harder. Then is that the idea? You're ended up working harder.
To be honest, we did this. There are councillors who work extremely hard, and there are ones that don't. I find it unusual that many people think we haven't got enough councillors. There's, I think, across the piece, I think it's just seen that it will be an efficiency. Those councillors.
How many people will be here then in Boscombe? Will it be one or of the area people in Boscombe? Will it be none?
You don't want to come back, Jane?
Can I just say, from what I've heard about this, and Bill's just said maybe half, I was under the impression there could be 2 per ward instead of 3, which isn't quite hard.
Yeah.
And maybe it's different across different
I mean,
areas.
Christchurch, you might have.
You said it's
they might
going
have.
from 330 to 60.
Or 70.
No, 313 Dorset.
Yes, that's correct.
50, 60 or 70.
In Bournemouth and Poole conurbation.
Yeah.
So there'd be another 70 odd in the 70 or 80 in the.
The wards would stay the same. So the wards would be the same, you reduce the number of councillors per ward. So actually, so James coverage would be the same physical area and the same people, 2 people, but you just instead of having 3 councillors, you have 2. Yeah.
You gentlemen.
Yeah, gentleman's going to put right. I'm just looking at the timetable here.
Yeah.
Okay, according to that, January 2017, we're in the middle of September now. Dorset Council agrees their final approach. I don't believe, I'm just talking here, never looked at this until a minute ago, I don't know how many people you've got involved in total, but it looks like you're going to think of cutting it by a third or a half, and etc., etc. But if you think you're going to get that set up by January 2017, when you've got half these people are going to be made redundant over a period of 3 years.
No, I didn't explain myself properly. If you look at that list, in January 2017 is when the decision would be made. What's the shape of the councils?
Right.
Where's the boundary, etc., etc. It then goes to the government. And it takes about 2 years for it to go through the loops in government. Right. It actually wouldn't start until 2019. Right. So it's.
And in your opinion, at this point in time, just so we can get the numbers, how many people right now work for all these councils in total that we're looking at? Because we're clearly going to cut those numbers. So how many people about is it? So we know that number of.
Oh, what a good question. I don't know offhand.
I know you don't, but I want you to bear this in mind.
Yeah.
When you do this roadshow, this isn't a Castle Point. Tomorrow, somebody needs to come up with those numbers.
Yeah.
How many numbers do we have? Remember, you're talking 9 chief executives, of which 7 are going to be out the door.
Yeah.
And if you think these people are all going to sit around for 6 months arguing about whether I've got my job or not, I seriously doubt whether you're going to be able to keep to this schedule. Again, come up with some numbers so when people ask, idiots like me, because you're going to put a lot of people out of work who have been working for these councils for years. They've got the pensions, the whole lot, and you guys in the space of a couple of years are going to click your fingers and you're going to combine it. I think this is a lot bigger than you guys. Remember, you're talking government here. You are talking local government. I don't know if you've really got the wherewithal to do it. That's the end of this comment. No more questions. I'll see you in Castle Point and all those other
I think that's what they call a fair challenge.
Evening, I've just got two questions. Not had much time to look at any of this stuff, but you mentioned the financial case for a change. This is about the business cases. Is there, where are the business cases?
Yeah. So the business cases are sort of being worked up at the moment. Sorry, just starting to be worked up because on the sort of the two unitary solution, but really it can't really do much on the business case until we've got get feedback from the community. So depending on what the community and the businesses and everybody else say by sort of end October into November time, the business case can then be sort of written up once we're clear about which boundaries of people, things that people want.
They'll be written up in 1 month.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of work that's been done already, particularly on all the finances and all the numbers, which will form the crux of the business plan. It's like where you cut the numbers really. And then the other part of the business plan is the bit that I was talking about earlier on around the vision for the area and what benefits, other benefits apart from financial there could be from the regional authorities.
Like that, there aren't business cases for each choice at the moment to consider, and that you've sent 20,000 questionnaires out.
These things out.
Which I think I read in the paper today, that's 0.5% of the whole of Dorset.
Well, there's 20,000. There's about 800,000 people in Dorset, but probably that's people. There's a lot fewer households than that. So we're not saying it's a referendum that's going to go. If I said to you, we're going to put one of these in every hand of every single person in Dorset, but it's going to cost £3.5 million to do that, we'd probably get more people throwing stuff at us. So we feel that this is sort of a statistically valid number of people to get an understanding of what the key issues are. It's not a referendum, it's just trying to understand the issues, and they are available to anybody who wants to get involved.
And they're available online.
Available online, so you can get, thousands of people can fill them online if they want to.
Yeah, it does seem, also it's quite a short period of consultation with a few road shows and a small amount of people for a very major decision without business cases attached to each. Does that feel like a proper consultation with people? To be
perfectly honest, I've done lots and lots of consultation. If it was a year's consultation compared to six or 8 weeks, you'd probably still get the same sort of result, to be honest. And the energy would go out of the whole project. It would take a long time out of it. So we've adhered to what the government recommends is, a reasonable level for this type of thing. They say between 6 and 8 weeks is a reasonable time, so we've stuck to that. So yeah, we feel confident it's good enough.
Does the council have a preferred option?
Does the council have a preferred option? What can I say? No, it doesn't have a preferred option.
And how is the process of decision making going to be?
Decision making will be when all that information's come in. It's been left to initially the leaders of each council. So the leader of each council, and they will meet together. The leaders of the council will form an opinion, and then they will hopefully they'll be able to alight around one opinion that that's a shared one. But they'll have to work it out themselves. That decision or those options will then have to be agreed by each full council. So each council with all its councillors will have to approve the option going forward. So I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be easy. There may be councils who take quite different views from other people. So, you know, we'll have to see where that takes us. But it'll be left down to democratic councillors to decide at the end of the day.
I mean, obviously by what I've said for me, I'm completely behind this. I do truly think it's the only option. If we did nothing, what would happen?
If we did nothing, what would happen? We'd still be, sorry. We'd do nothing, we'd plough on as we are. Well, to be perfectly honest, the sun will come up in the morning and we go down at night, you know, the world will carry on at the one level.
No, I mean, what would happen to
Yeah, but Bournemouth Council. So at one level we would just carry on with our search and do what we can. But over time, we would be, Bournemouth Council and all the other councils would essentially start running out of money. The gaps would start emerging and even more difficult choices would have to be made about what we stop doing. Or jacking up the council tax. So, you know, it's not, it's, you know, we would carry on, but we would run out of money. And particularly Bournemouth, I think, you know, is okay, but some county council as well is really, you know, running out of money. These big issues that we face.
What would the government step in and what would they be likely to do?
Well, we wouldn't, I don't think we'd want to be the first local authority to fail and collapse like you see some of the Spanish ones. I don't know what would the government do? I don't know. They'd have to write a big cheque somewhere and put their income tax levels up. I don't know. You know, I think at the moment they're quite content for these issues to be dealt with locally.
I'm here this evening as a Boscombe resident and also vice chair of the Borough, but as it happens, I've worked in Poole, Dorchester, and lived in Purbeck for 10 years. So I'm quite concerned about the rural vote here.
Yeah.
It's easy to see why it would be advantageous to us in the urban area.
Yeah.
There'd be a much higher precept, larger population, more businesses for business rates, etc. But if you go on the model, I think was it the middle one, where basically it's West Dorset with Bournemouth, Poole and Christchurch all joined up.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining the area to be run from, say, from Dorchester with Purbeck, Swanage, and so on.
Sorry. I mean, I'm listening. Yeah.
So what I'm basically saying is sort of 2 points. First of all, the West Dorset area, which has always traditionally been of a lower income, you know, in all the split councils, is going to continue to have a much lower precept. Whereas those of us over this side, will be the rich ones.
Yeah.
In terms of council.
Yeah, I'll get the point you're making. If I can briefly respond to that. You're getting your Fitbit working today, aren't you? 10,000 steps already. No, you're right. There is an option. If you look at what I would call, you know, the large, Bournemouth, Poole, East Dorset, Christchurch, if you looked at that, part of me would think that's brilliant for the conurbation. We've got a nice big area there, lots of land around us, we've got airport, we've got, you know, Ferndown, we've got big industrial estates, as you're right, paint a great city to run, right? But I think there is an issue across in the West Dorset that might leave them a little bit undercooked in terms of numbers of people and business and so on. So you're right to raise that issue. That might be a bit less viable for them on that side of the national things.
Given the lower population, your 20,000 consultation, how is that being skewed? Because there's less people in West Dorset.
The way the consultation company have done it, they've done it very sort of scientifically. So that 20,000 is spread out geographically, so you know, across the piece and weighted in the right area, so there'll be more in conurbation, but you know, it's weighted for where the populations are across the piece. Last one. I think we all right. Do another couple more. Yes. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going back, and then over to you.
I reckon the echo state that only 0.5% of people have responded so far in the last 2 weeks of consultation. If I was to go online and fill it online, can I fill it in as many times as I want?
If If you wanted to sort of try and cook the books, I think the consultation depends. To be honest, you could when you fill in the forms, I fill in the form. In my view, okay, you have to put your postcode in, and that's the only way you can sort of count. So if you wanted to sit there and dream up 50 different postcodes, yeah, you could do it. Everyone's got to have a hobby sort of thing, but you know, you could if you, I suppose in theory you could.
Not as a hobby, but I did some research into the e-panel on Borough Council sort of online surveying sometimes. And sometimes you get sort of 17 responses. But when the reports go to the officers, it translates into sort of like 85% of respondents were in favour. So, you know, forgive my suspicion, but I'm not, you know, particularly enamoured. And if we're only getting sort of in 2 weeks, we've had less than 1% of responses.
So we've had about, this morning we've had about 1,500 responses.
20,000.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's been over a week or two. So I think it'll build.
Yeah. There's two questions. One, more sort of but the Bournemouth Council's sort of given a focus on Boscombe and West Ham as areas of deprivation, and also said that the regeneration changes can't happen overnight. They're 20 to 30 years long-term plans. There's also been suggested that with the change in the structure of council becoming a larger entity, that may not actually be the case. That Boscombe may not be a focus, or West Ham may not be a focus anymore. Is that, I suppose that?
Well, all I can say is, as I said earlier on, I can't second guess what the authority might want to do, a bigger authority, but I think you've got to bear in mind that a large number of those councils will still be from Bournemouth, and be representing Bournemouth, and the political party that's been in power now since 2007 are very committed to Bournemouth, to Boscombe, and again, if they continue, they'll hopefully continue being the same. And I think Boscombe would still, even in that bigger authority, stick out as somewhere that needs attention. So it might be a different form of it, or whatever, but it would place it would need attention. So again, and West Ham for that matter, I'd be confident, you know, if I was doing this job in 3 years' time or whatever, that it would still be an important priority. Yeah.
And the other thing, but when changes do happen, you know, obviously there's a lot of paperwork and stuff. I mean, it's a way of getting rid of skeletons in the closet, which I'm sure councils have. How is that overseen, just as a matter of, is there a government adjudication or someone who makes sure it's done correctly?
That's a good point. I think you about a year before the, and hopefully a bit earlier, but before the 2019, you sort of like a shadow authority. So that'd be made up of a number of councillors from across the area who would actually, when they walk in that room, they're representing the new authority. So they're arguing, you know, don't do that, don't spend money on that, save it for the new authority, don't do anything risky. You know, so they'd be there keeping an eye on it. And overall, we'd be working very closely with the DCLG, the government department, to make sure everything was done properly and audited and all the rest of it.
And with the DCLG then, I mean, in terms of like job positions, would they be then interviewing? Obviously,
No, it'll be the shadow authority whose first job would be to appoint a new chief executive. Okay. Appoint a new chief executive, and then empower that chief executive to then go and then start appointing, you know, all the rest of the staff structure.
Okay, so that people don't have to lie on their own swords. Okay.
Yes, I'm keeping the revolver on my desk.
Yeah. I'm curious, because this is not this area, but Perth and Portland are nowhere near each other. So how can they just merge and become part of?
Well, they become part of one.
Well, they have their council meetings.
They become part of one big rural authority. At the moment, all those areas are still under Dorset County. So actually, there is one unified local authority that covers all that rural area at the moment, HQ'd in Dorchester. So it would be very similar to that, I suspect. You'd have an HQ in Dorchester which would cover that whole rural area. Yeah, at the moment, Dorset County Council covers Christchurch and East Dorset as well. Yeah, so it covers a very large patch, and it's.
But you want to become one then?
No.
So what?
No, we don't. They will become one unitary covering the west of area, and then the conurbation will be one.
So get rid of all those district councils then? They'll just be one.
Absolutely, the district council will go. The district council will go, all the unitaries as they are will go, the county council will go. So all 9 councils will be abolished, and 2 new ones will emerge.
In terms of the kind of after the consultation process, and then obviously deciding on what between all the heads of each of the councils, what should be done, will that how transparent will that discussion be? So how will we see what the process in the consultation, how that feeds into the greater picture of how that's then built, or are these all going to be closed meetings that we won't be privy to? Then the mechanics of how those decisions will be made.
There will be a great wealth of evidence, lots of economic data, lots of feedback for the consultation processes. There'll be written up in reports, and those will be publicly available. So that will be the information that the politicians will have to base their views on. So that's good. How it's actually going to be done in practice, I suspect there will have to be, inevitably, some rooms where people get together and thrash it out. It'll be a little bit like a little white smoke emerge from the chimney, So there's going to have to be a bit of that. But as I said, all the options will be debated and decided in public by all the individual council meetings.
On that note, thank you again, Bill. For our minority communities, they are not geographically spread necessarily. Could we move very quickly to looking at consulting with those in a way that reaches as many people as possible? So that's probably not going to be done by physical location.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be done online. Do we have some?
My sort of glib answer on that one will be that through part of the consultation process we're looking at, we're reaching out to all sorts of groups of people. So through the Dorset Racial Equality Council, through the different forums that exist, we'll be out there working hard to disability groups, docs, people like that. We'll be out there working hard and having sort of separate work groups with them. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yes, I can speak to the Race Equality Council and time organisation development officer. Maybe some discussion with LGBT.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, thank you.
Will the Dorset Local Enterprise Partnership be affected in any way?
No, it won't, because the Dorset Local Enterprise Partnership covers the whole geography of Dorset, including Bournemouth, Pool and the rest. And actually, I think it will make the work of the Dorset Local Enterprise Partnership easier. So they'll have 2 councils to deal with. We've got bigger and more robust than 9 councils at the moment. And if you put 9 councils together in a room, inevitably there's lots of disagreements. If there's 2 councils, it'll be a lot easier for them to really direct and help to develop the economic development of the area.
A little bit cynical perhaps, but given that the likelihood of the vote being cast to merge at least the urban conurbation, and I think you mentioned in your presentation about not needing as many council offices.
Offices, yeah.
Has anyone had the estate agents in to value the town halls? What's going to happen to those huge bits of real estate? So if Pool sold their town hall, does the money stay in Pool, or has that been looked at?
No, it hasn't been looked at. There's been because we haven't made a decision that we're going to do it, and what the configuration is and all the rest of it. We don't know what the services are, where they're to be based. However, I should say that we don't need, even at the moment, we're doing lots of joint work with Paul and with Christchurch. For example, all the Christchurch refuse freighters are in Southgate Road in the Bournemouth freighters. So we are working together more efficiently. So lots of those operational things are working already. But again, be realistic, you're right. If you do create a new council, a new organisation, it's going to look at all its assets and work out what it wants to do with them. Some of them will be sold, some of them will be worked on, some of them will be, a range of things.
It could be a huge windfall for the
community,
yes.
The area, yeah. That'd be one way. You try and pay for the costs, make it more efficient. Again, sort of streaming for a minute, you could decide actually in a 21st century organisation you want your staff to be much more mobile and out and about dealing with customers rather than stuck in offices. So actually, do you need quite some number of officers and just give everybody a tablet and a mobile phone and get them out there?
Okay.
We exhausted ourselves. Exhausted me, that's for sure.
Can I just say that obviously this consultation's got to go on, and then eventually through all those steps that were up there, there will be a decision made on where we're going. But just looking forward to 2018, when we're going towards the 2019 election, and we know who the councillors are going to, who the candidates will be, because we won't be councillors for that new council. There will be candidates from all parties trying to get onto those seats. And we will be campaigning and telling you how we will be shaping that new organisation and the new council. And so then you will have the ability to decide, how you want that council to work.
Yeah, what flame would you want it to be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you will have councillors, but you'll have new ones. They may be me, or they may be, the ones that are there now, or they could be completely different. There'll be fewer, but you will elect them.
Yeah. So they'll be elected and they'll be hardworking.
They will say that.
As they are now.
Sorry?
What will the new district be about? What will be the bigger district then? So Boscombe, will it be a whole Boscombe, or how will it work for Boscombe?
No, it will be, the wards will be the same. We won't see any difference in the wards.
That does not. Yeah, I don't see the question, but yeah, the Boscombe ward will be the same. It's going to be Boscombe, so the same line down the map. There may be one less councillor involved.
And that'll make a saving.
Straightforward. That'll make a saving.
There's only going to be, you said, there's going to be 60 councillors, but what's the area for that? Whole of Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, I can't be specific, so I don't know what are in Bournemouth, Christchurch, or Bournemouth, Christchurch, East Dorset, it depends. Yeah. I think, if you don't mind, I'll knock it on the head. Thank you very much on a skateboard I can. Thank you very much. Cheers.